council via Zoom. And with that, we are starting off. Do you have a motion to allow electronic meeting, please?
Yes, Councillor Van Betchu speaking. I'd like to make a motion that City Council suspend the rules of order as set out in the City of Weyburn Council Procedures Bylaw to allow for City Council and City Administration to participate in the regular meeting of City Council this 22nd day of March 2021.
Do you have a seconder?
Your Worship, Councillor Corrigan here. I will second that motion.
And all in favor, Councillor Van Betchu,
Yes.
Councillor Richards,
Yes.
Councillor Morissette,
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan.
Yes.
Who else do we have here tonight? I forgot to do the roll there on the Councillor Mayor Roy, yes. And
Your Worship, this is Councillor Janke. I'll vote yes.
Yeah, sorry about that, Councillor Janke. And before we go forward here, let's take a roll, if we would, please. Councillor Van Betchu,
Yes.
Councillor Richards,
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan,
Present.
Councillor Janke,
Present.
Councillor Mickle.
Present.
We have Matthew Warren,
Present.
Laura Missal,
Yeah.
Andrew Crow,
Present.
Jen Wilkinson,
Present.
Janie Fletcher,
Present.
and that should just about, and Danette Richter.
Here.
Okay, moving forward. Do we have the approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting and strategic planning and priorities meeting held March 8th, 2021?
This is Councillor Mickle, and I'll make a motion that the minutes of the regular council meeting and the strategic planning and priorities meeting held on March 8th of 2021 be approved.
This is Councillor Janke, and I'll second that motion.
Questions? No questions or comments? Councillor Van Betchu, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Richards?
Yes.
Councillor Morissette?
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan?
Yes.
Councillor Janke?
Yes.
Councillor Mickle?
Yeah.
Mayor Roy? Yes. Are there any additions to the agenda, Mr. Warren?
Thank you, Your Worship. There is no additions from administration tonight.
Mr. Our councillors, any addition? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Public hearings and notices. We want to talk about the public notice council meetings in the chambers. How do you want to go forward with it? There's a couple of people that are wondering. So could we have a motion saying that we're going to move back into the council meetings into chambers here? I think that would be the best way.
Your Worship, I'll make that motion that for starting the next council meeting that we move back into chambers.
Do you have a second?
Your Worship, Councillor Corrigan here. I will second that motion.
Discussion? Hearing none, call to vote. Councillor Van Betchu,
Yes.
Councillor Richards,
Yes.
Councillor Morissette,
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan,
Yes.
Councillor Janke,
Yes.
Councillor Mickle,
No.
Councillor Mayor Roy, yes. We'll be moving back into chambers next council meeting. There are no, and Danette, if you would please, I guess you have to post public notice for that, or does that just stand here at this meeting?
You know what, Your Worship, we will, we're not forced to put public notice out due to the meetings because that is in our council procedures bylaw. However, we will certainly put it out on our city website and social media to make the public aware that we are back in chambers.
Very good. There are no delegations, proclamations, petitions. There are reports of standing committees. There are none. We are also, we have the consent agenda. There's the cash activity report. accounts receivable, and the fire department report. All of these can be seen on our city website. Do I have a motion to approve?
Your worship, this is Councillor Morissette, and I would like to make the motion that the following items on the consent agenda be accepted as presented: the cash activity report for February, the accounts receivable report for February, and the fire department report for February of 2021.
Worship, it's Councillor Richards. I'll second that.
Discussion? Call the question. Councillor Van Betju, how do you report? Vote?
Yes.
Councillor Richards?
Yes.
Councillor Morissette?
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan?
Yes.
Councillor Janke?
Yes.
Councillor Mickle?
Yep.
Mayor Roy? Yes. Moving forward to motions. Accounts payable, do I have a motion, please?
Your worship, I'll make that motion. I move that the purchases in the amount of $735,948.04 from March 5th to March 18th, 2021 be approved.
Worship, this is Councillor Van Betju, and I will second that motion.
Discussion? Hearing none. We call the question. Councillor Van Betju, how do you vote?
Yes.
Richards?
Yes.
Councillor Morissette?
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan?
Yes.
Councillor Janke?
Yes.
Councillor Mickle?
Yes.
Mayor Roy? Yes. Pothole patch tender. Jennifer, if you would, please.
Yes, good evening. So this is for a pothole patch truck. So this year Fleet Services budgeted for $300,000 for a pothole patch truck. So just to let you know, this would be a new addition to our fleet. We currently don't have one of these at the city of Weyburn, so we have no trade-in value for this. Just so you know a little bit about what a pothole patch truck will do. So this allows us to square up to the pothole. We are then able to clean out the hole, put hot tack oil down, the asphalt in, and then there's a vibrating tamper to flush it up and make it level with the road. So this truck has a few advantages for us. It always keeps the asphalt hot, so it extends our season quite a bit. You can actually patch potholes up to -15. So this does give us a little bit of a longer season, as well as by using hot asphalt, it's a longer term fix than the cold mix that we typically do in our colder months, like our spring and our fall. So this will give us a bit more of a permanent fix on our potholes. And also, it is a lot safer. So this actually has an auger that puts the asphalt into the hole, and so it has, our workers are not shoveling the asphalt into the potholes. So this is kind of why we started looking at a pothole patch truck. So just to give you guys an idea, on February 22nd, it was posted on SAS Tenders and the City of Weyburn website, and bidders were allowed to bid on what was a 2021 or a 2022 4 cubic yard pothole patch truck. They had to submit their bid by March 9th, 2021 at 1 p.m. So we did have 4 tenders received. One tender was disqualified because it was a late submission, so it was not reviewed. So the 3 valid submissions were from Furmark, so they gave us 3 different options of different ones we could look at. So we did a full bid assessment on the Furmark equipment, of the Furmark options that were presented. So based on this full assessment of the 3 proposals, we are recommending that the Freightliner M2 106 conventional chassis with thermal A body best meets the tender and operational requirements as outlined by the city. So we recommend that the award go to 2022 Freightliner M2 106 conventional chassis with thermal A body to Furmark at a total price of $290,443.39 net cost delivered, and that would be around $10,000 under budget.
Do I have a motion so that we can may discuss?
Yes, your worship, Councillor Corrigan here. I would make the motion that the bid of Furmark equipment to supply a 2022 Freightliner M2 106 SBA with thermal lay for the purpose of a pothole patch truck in the amount of $261,660.71, not including PST or GST, be accepted as recommended.
Second.
Your worship, Councillor Richards, I'll second that.
Discussion?
Worship, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. To Director of Engineering, thanks for your diligence on this. I have a question for you, and then I have just, I guess, a comment or an observation. First question I have for you is, because this is new to our fleet, certainly not something that I'm familiar with, not that I'm familiar with how to patch pothole in general, but what's the lifespan of this unit? Like, what do you expect? Is this something we would replace in 5 years or 15 years? That's my question. Second, my observation, I want to commend you to, or at least, I guess, commend Furmark. This is a $10,000 budget savings for us, which helps to offset a little bit of an over budget expenditure on some mowers, I think maybe at the last council meeting, or anyways, very recently. So good news there on the budget. Question about lifespan. Thank you.
Yeah, so with the lifespan of these, it really depends on what point we want to trade in to get the value back on it. So that is currently something we're evaluating on these vehicles, is different trade-in values. At what point do we feel it has not lived its life, but can we get a good enough trade-in value that we would look at trading our fleet earlier? So I would say probably the earliest we would ever look at trading in is around that 5-year mark, but I think you will be able to extend that further. So it's just more of what the city is comfortable with. I can't really commit to it, but one thing is we have actually gone and seen these units at the City of Regina, and we were able to chat with them on their units, and they do get a decent lifespan on it. They do tend to trade in a little earlier just to get their full value from them and upgrade a little sooner. So that is something we're going to do through our fleet management and our asset management system to determine what is the best time to trade in. So I can't really give you an exact answer on years, but.
Thank you.
Mr. Mickle?
Thank you, Your Worship. Jennifer, thanks for your work on this file. The question I have for you, when is the expected delivery date of this pothole patcher?
So unfortunately, these have a very long lead time, so it is about 200 days out, so we actually would not expect to see it until the fall.
Okay, so the question I have, Matthew, this is going to go right to you. Okay, so we're going to actually miss the 2021 pothole patching because we waited this long to do it. Sometime in the recent past years, we did a pre-budget approval of certain things. And Matthew, you can take your words for this from when you were in charge of Leads of Services. We did that a few things that happened to Crescent Point Place. And maybe if something like this happens again, can we not do that? Because we're missing a whole year to use this vehicle.
Yes, Councillor Mickle, that's something we could look into. We recently just did that for pre-budget approval for the Zamboni for the arena. We just did that before budget went through this year. That's something we can do. I know with what we're doing right now in engineering public works, we're trying to create some long-term plans for what we want to do for our fleet moving forward. And that's something you may see from that department moving forward if they do see lead times like that. And we also always have to be conscious of making sure that it fits in through what we think that is going to be approved from budget as well. But pre-budget approval does happen. It's not a regular occurrence. It's not something that we want to do in regular occurrence. But if we know if something's going to have a lead time like that, we could look into that and provide that for consideration to council.
Thank you, Matthew. Thanks, Jen.
So I just have a follow-up for Councillor Richards. Fortunately, our Public Works Superintendent, who is also our fleet manager, is watching, and he said the lifespan is 10 years.
Excellent. Thank you.
So one of the questions that, two questions, Jennifer, that I'm going to ask you is, number one, I know that it's kind of however people like the Freightliner or Mac on that. I guess that's kind of the fan. But wasn't one of our other trucks a international? And I know that probably Freightliner might have different engines. So I'm just going by whatever, and then it gets into the kind of the, who's a fan of what type of vehicle. And then the last, and I guess that's more of a comment than a question. The last question is, do the people still have to manually cut all the pothole out and kind of dry it out before putting stuff in, or does the machine actually do that itself? You know?
So I will just respond to your comment about the different kinds. Freightliner with the Thermalay is actually the city of Regina had those ones, so that was part of the experience of speaking with them. And they had good success with those trucks, so that's why we did go with the Freightliner with the Thermalay. So that was part of our site tour with the city of Regina. They'd had those units previously, and the operators said they were really good. And so actually this truck comes with the proper tools for cleaning out the hole and everything, so it really does reduce the amount of manual labor for our operators.
Very good, very good.
Your worship, if I may.
Yes.
Jen, I don't really have a question so much as a comment. I don't know the first thing about patching potholes, but Councillor Mickle and I had a chance to talk to your fleet manager, and there seems to be a lot of excitement down there about being able to use this longer through the year, and generally speaking, have some nice equipment to kind of do this sort of work with, which I know takes up a lot of their time right now. So good work on this. I think this is a huge win for them and for anybody who drives on streets in Weyburn. So I'm excited to vote for it.
Yeah, this unit is definitely causing a lot of excitement at the Public Works Department, and I think it will actually be really great for the city.
Any more comments? Hearing none, call the vote. All in favor? Councillor Van Betju,
Yes.
Councillor Richards,
Yes.
Councillor Morissette,
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan,
Yes.
Councillor Janke,
Yes.
Councillor Mickle,
Yes.
Mayor Roy, yes. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Concrete RFP. You've got lots of stuff here tonight, Jen. Jen?
Sorry, I'm just trying to get off mute. Okay, so next up is the RFP for the accessible pedestrian ramps and the concrete walkway. So this is actually split into two parts. So the first one is the pedestrian ramp. So this is an annual program for the city. And so we did priority locations within the city this year, and we have proposed up to 18 locations at 9 intersections. A lot of them are focused around school zones, park areas, or if they are tied to the Chautauqua Trail. So this was a lot of where our pedestrian ramps, and then also we continued on our neighborhood areas where we left off last year. So we do have a total of $35,000 budgeted under Public Works expenses to complete this work for the accessible pedestrian ramps. And then the second part is the 5th Street North Sidewalk. So this is coinciding with the completion of the Credit Union Center and Legacy Park School. So there is an adjacent extent of sidewalk and crossings which require remediation. So along the east side of 5th Street North from 1st Avenue Northeast to Douglas Road, there are several sections of sidewalk, paneling, curb cuts, and access tie-ins, both at new and replacements, which will require to be installed. And there was a total of $150,000 budgeted to do this work. So on March 1st, 2021, a request for proposals was posted on the SAS Tenders and the city's website. The RFP was divided into the two parts as stated above, and the bidders could bid on both or just one of the parts. Quotations were to be received by the City of Weyburn on March 12th, 2021 at 3 p.m. A total of 3 proposals were received. So we do have a list of tendered requirements that are needed to be submitted with the bid. So we had about 6 requirements, and then we did, based on what the 3 contractors submitted, we did a weighted ranking of the bid results according to that selection criteria. So based on the submissions from the 3 companies, we are recommending that Part 1 of the 2021 accessible pedestrian ramps and concrete walkway installation be awarded to North Star Concrete as per the cost detailed and the conditions stipulated in the RFP. For part 2, which would be the sidewalk, we are looking at awarding that to RGM Contracting Incorporated as per the cost detailed and the conditions stipulated in the RFP.
Very good. Do you have a motion, please?
Your worship, this is Councillor Van Betju. I'd like to make a motion that the bid of North Star Concrete Inc. for the 2021 pedestrian ramp installation in the amount of $45,792.99 be accepted as recommended.
Your worship, this is Councillor Morissette, and I will second that.
And do we have a discussion? Mr. Van Betju?
Thank you, your worship. Jen, I was just wondering, so we have A and B concrete, which was less money. What part of the qualification, can you tell us what part of the qualifications they were unable to fulfill? As I'm assuming
yeah.
that's why they weren't chosen.
Yeah, so there was 6 requirements, and part of those were a schedule, project references, and project understanding, as well as another one was previous projects that would have been related to this, as well as the bid form and the contact information. And A&B Concrete only submitted the bid form and the the contact information. They did not submit anything else with their bid form, so they did not fulfill that part, the rest of the parts of the tender that were required.
I'm just wondering if maybe the reason they didn't submit some of that information was they had done this previous to you coming to the city. They had done some ramps for us a couple of years ago. And as far as I know, their work was acceptable and done in the time frame that was allotted. So I'm just wondering if that was the reason maybe why they didn't submit some of the information that was required, thinking that the city probably already had this information.
And I can't say why they chose not to submit it. It was clearly outlined in the RFP what would be required, how it was weighted, and exactly what was needed to evaluate these bids. So from our department, we have to evaluate based on the information provided, as well as how it's laid out in the tender to ensure we have a fair and accurate process. And that's how our recommendations come. So.
Right. So knowing that they have done work for us previously and that they have qualified in that aspect, as a counselor, am I able to suggest that maybe we go with their bid rather than the other higher bid? Knowing that they do quality work and we have used them before in previous years?
I think as a counselor, you have that option. I, based on a technical evaluation, can't make that recommendation.
Right. Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
So would you like to make that recommendation, Mr. Van Betju?
Well, I would like to amend the motion maybe if it was all right to our seconder, that we accept the bid of A and B Concrete for $40,068 to do the access ramps.
And for only that part? Or
I think that's the only part we're speaking to right now, I believe, Your Worship.
Oh, part 1? I thought we were speaking to part 2 also.
I think the same would follow through, but I think the motion was just
For part 1? Okay.
if it's acceptable to the seconder.
Seconder?
I will say yes, but I would like to make a comment,
Yes.
if
go
that's
ahead.
okay.
Yes.
I thanked Jen so much for getting all of the RFPs and doing such a great job in comparing and weighting all of these, the different bids. I know it's hard. We want to respect our local companies and stuff. And I would love to give them the heads up, but if they aren't going to provide the information we need, I don't think that's fair to the other submissions, because they did provide all of the information. But again, A&B Concrete, they do fantastic work. So I'd be comfortable going with them.
So you'll second that? Then?
Yes.
Any further discussion?
I have, Your Worship, I'd like to make a comment, please.
Sure, go ahead.
We're working on a slippery slope here. the local people are entitled to bid this, and A&B do very good work. However, you can't have two separate rules for the local plus somebody else and will bid it. That slippery slope could prove disastrous someday. We can't do that. I think, like I said, the quality of work, I'm not questioning that at all. It's the way we're doing business. You have to treat people equally as you pursue with this. Engineering has presented it. And if you miss some of the criteria and you're ineligible, that is the way it is. I would like the local person to get it. I'm not questioning that, but we have to watch how we approach this. It is serious because this word will spread around that they treat local totally different than anybody else, and that reputation could come to haunt us in the end.
Mr. Van Betchu?
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything that Councillor Mickle has said, but as this is a company that has done previous work for us, we know it was acceptable. That is the part of the submission that was maybe absent from this. I don't see where we're really slighting anybody from out of town on, giving this project to them for what amounts to, just quick thinking, $50,000 difference by using a local contractor. So no, I don't think we're bending the rules too hard here. And I appreciate everything the engineering department does, and they have to follow the rules of the RFP, and it's up to council, I think, to use their discretion if they feel there is a little bit of leeway here.
Mr. Richard?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I'll tell you what, I would vote 100% in favor of this motion on one condition, that I can be rest assured by administration that we won't leave the city and the taxpayers open to any sort of liability, because we just acknowledged that one of the bids didn't meet the criteria of the tender, and now we're about to award the tender to that person or that company. And if this leaves, that $50,000 can be gone in a hurry. I totally agree with giving the business to the local person, local company. That is exactly what we should do. But we do have rules we have to follow, and we have to make sure that we don't leave the taxpayer open to any kind of lawsuits. So I would suggest that if administration can't give us that tonight, we should probably table this.
The word 50,000 is totally wrong. It's $5,700.
No, it's not, Councillor Mickle.
Well, look at the bid.
Councillor Mickle, I believe Councillor Van Betchu is including part 2 in his $50,000 calculation.
That's right, but we're talking part 1.
Correct. Your Worship, if I may, I would feel more comfortable if we were to table this until next meeting and possibly give A and B a chance to submit the rest of their proposal rather than go to one that didn't do this or didn't put it in at all. Jennifer, if that gives your team time to get this done on your schedule.
I would have to check into the liability of going back to a contractor based on the information now being released for them to get the additional information in. That would be the only issue with asking A and B to come in with all the information after.
Yeah, I agree with that. Councillor Richard's point about liability trumps my comment about making sure we have all the information for sure.
Yeah, City Manager Warren speaking. That is correct. What Director of Engineering Wilkinson is saying is that there is some liability issues that way if you do go back and ask for information after a closed bid's already happened. You'd actually have to do another process to do that. So right now there is a requested table for more information. I would recommend doing that as council.
Actually, can I just step in? It's City Clerk Richter. We can't table a motion. We're already talking about an amendment to a motion. We can't have all these motions on the floor at once. We are simply speaking to the amending motion. That has to be passed or not passed before we can do any further motions or deferring to another meeting.
Could that be rescinded, Donette?
I honestly am not sure. I guess I would suggest that we just deal with the amending motion first, pass or fail, and then if they wish, they could table the original motion to the next meeting.
So let's call a question on this motion. Do you want to pass this motion, the amendment, to allow this motion to be amended? Call the question. You want to allow this motion to be amended, Councillor Van Betju?
I just like to clarify, I don't think it's an amendment to the motion, it's actually a motion, is it not, Danette?
We have an amending motion on the floor, yes, Mel, Councillor Van Betju. Yourself and Councillor Morissette agreed to amend the motion to change it, to award it to A and B. So we are voting on the amending motion, the amendment to the motion. Then the original motion will be changed and you'll have to vote on the original motion if the amending motion passes.
So no.
Councillor Richards?
No.
Councillor Morissette?
No.
Councillor Corrigan?
No.
Councillor Janke?
No.
Councillor Mickle?
So we're voting on the motion to let, can you help me out here?
We're voting on the motion, Dick, to say whether or not we allow the amendment.
Okay, no.
Mayor Roy? No. So that amendment is done. We're back to our original motion. And Mr. Janke, you wanted to table this?
Yeah.
Dr. Corrigan?
Yes, I agree. I think we should table this motion at this point.
Okay, did you want to make that motion then?
I will make that motion.
Second?
Your worship, I will second that motion.
Call the question. Mr. Van Betju?
Yes.
Councillor Richards?
Yes.
Councillor Morissette?
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan?
Yes.
Councillor Janke?
Yes.
Councillor Mickle?
No.
Mayor Roy? Yes. Well, motion is tabled. Till next meeting. Asking for more information, I guess.
Your worship, we have part 2 as well, that has not been dealt with. So I'm not sure if council even wants to make that motion, or if council wants to just start off by moving that motion be amended, changed, postponed, but we will have to deal with part 2 now, as that motion was written up separately.
Do you wish to, we can't table that motion, but we can, I guess we can just, what did you say, the last one there? Just,
you could move, your worship, one of the council members could move to table this item to the next meeting unless they want to go ahead and make a motion otherwise.
Your worship, I'll move that we table part 2 of this discussion to next meeting.
Councillor Mickle, and I'll second that.
call the question. Mr. Van Betju?
Yes.
Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Councillor Morissette?
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan?
Yes.
Councillor Janke?
Yes.
Councillor Mickle?
No.
And Mayor Roy? Yes. Part 2 is tabled till next meeting. Moving forward, the Spark Center Indoor, Credit Union Spark Center Indoor Playground RFP. Andrew, if you would, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for having me. So I'll just give some background to this one. So as I've mentioned in all of my reports to council about the Credit Union Spark Center, we withheld a number of our major features from the construction contract so that we could go through and better select the final product. So this is the first of a few RFPs that I'll be bringing to council over the next couple months. So this one is for the indoor playground design and build to be situated in the Credit Union Spark Center. So the Spark Center was designed to include the indoor soft play playground, similar to what you might see in a McDonald's, just on a much grander level. So now known as the Mnp Play Center, the indoor playground will include multiple levels of tunnels, obstacles, climbing walls, slides, and a number of other features, while following a safe, durable design, all put together to achieve inclusive play for children aged 2 to 12. So the indoor playground feature, as I mentioned, was not included in the construction contract to allow us for more flexibility when selecting the final product. So a request for proposal of the design and build of the indoor playground structure was initiated and posted on the website in Sask Tenders on February 1st and closed at 2 p.m. on Monday, March 8th. We received a total of 5 submissions and all met the minimum requirements as outlined within the RFP. So they were all considered for award. So we received proposals from Atomic Playgrounds, Canadian Recreation Solutions, Orca Coast Playgrounds, PlayQuest, and Playworks. So the City of Weyburn received 6 different design proposals from the 5 proponents, with estimated costs ranging from $269,000 to just shy of $375,000. All designs submitted met the minimum requirements as outlined within the RFP specifications, and all of them came within the allotted budget amount for this portion of our project. So though all the proponents met the minimum requirements, some stood out above the others with more intensive designs, including a wider variety of different elements and layouts. Through careful consideration, reference checks, the proponent felt to be giving us the best bang for our buck is Orca Playgrounds based out of Port Coquitlam, BC. The selected design includes a variety of different play elements. It has the largest footprint of all that we received and utilizes the space that was assigned to them the most effectively. So the design that we chose stands 4 levels high, about 19 to 20 feet high, with a footprint of 28 feet wide and 45 feet long. And it actually has the capacity and the safety rating to accommodate up to 220 kids on the structure at any given time. Obviously, with COVID, we can't quite get away with that at this present moment, but there's tons of space on the play structure. So some of the highlights included are some different slides, a triple slide, a spiral enclosed slide, 2 15-foot high themed climbing walls, completely designed meeting accessibility and ADA compliance, and safety is of paramount importance throughout the whole structure. Some other features that they had is extremely low maintenance and high durability, designed with vandal-resistant tough skin padding and netting. And they have a really good customer service response team with a 24-hour support line and 1-year warranty on all of the components of the structure. So following the thorough review of the indoor playground design build submissions, I'd like to recommend that the project be awarded to Orca Coast Playgrounds in the amount of $360,950 plus applicable taxes.
Do we have a motion, please?
Your Worship, Councillor Corrigan here. I would make the motion that the bid of Orca Coast Playgrounds for the design and build of the indoor playground structure at the Credit Union Sparks Center in the amount of $360,950 plus applicable taxes be accepted as recommended.
Councillor Van Betjen, I will second that motion.
And leading off in this discussion, Andrew, I'm going to lead off at the start that when you said there, and I don't doubt any of I think that you have done a very, very wonderful job on the community center. When you said that you looked at all this and talked about this and kind of consulted as to which was the best design, it's a long time since I was a kid on there, a very long time, and 50 years. And looking at toy companies, they have kids test the toys and look at what they like as opposed to what we as adults are choosing for kids on that. Were any children kind of asked to look at this design at all? Were any like classrooms or of kids that they went, ooh, this was really would look like fun, or that would look like fun onto there? Because again, like I say, I've heard this and I've read this lots where we as adults, and I've also bought presents for kids for 20, 30 years, and they look at the stuff and go, well, they didn't like that, even though I got excited about it. Comments?
Yeah, so when we did our reference checks, we contacted companies who have like private businesses with these structures and got glowing reviews about everything that came from Orca Coast. I also provided the different designs to coworkers and others in our community who have children, small children, middle-aged children, or not middle-aged, sorry, younger kids. And everybody looked at the proposals and selected this one. I have a rendering video from their proposal that I showed my 2-year-old son, and he was jumping at the computer wanting to go. So we didn't actually provide it to a school per se, but we did query a wide range of audiences to get their input on it.
Okay, and that's what I was asking, whether you actually showed it to kids onto that, and that would be, that's what I feel is a must. Any other comments, councillors?
Your worship.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. To Director Crow, good work on this. This is very cool. You had said in your report, and I don't doubt this for a second, that one of these stood head and shoulders above for a lot of reasons. I'm curious, the dollar figures are, of course, always staggering when we see them, and I get that. One of the things that stood out for me here, though, was your note that they only offer 1-year parts and labor warranty. It doesn't seem like a lot of warranty. So I guess what I'm looking for from you, Andrew, is a little bit more narrative around why this particular one stood out so far in advance, ahead for you. Because, and again, I'm not doubting it. I just want to understand better, because it is, you know, nearly $100,000 more than one of the other ones. So just looking for some more narrative on why Orcas stood out so much for you.
Yeah, so I mean, there was definitely a large spread in the proposals that we received for that space. What you would see in this proposal or this submission compared to the one on the low end is a much, much larger footprint with far more actual features within the structure itself. So giving the kids way more opportunities or different elements within the structure to enjoy. Back to the 1-year warranty, that seems to be pretty typical from all of these companies to provide that. But the one good thing that I did get as far as a reference on Orca Coast was how quickly they are to answer the phone and how good support they provide even past that 1 year. I'm told that they're extremely good to work with, and they seem that way so far. So some cool features that you don't see because they're actually hidden within the structures. There's actually a little small toddler area where they actually have some smaller slides and different features for those 2 to 3-year-old children. This one has, as I mentioned, the 2 15-foot high climbing walls that kids will actually have to strap in and wear a helmet and be looked after when they climb to the top and have races. So that was, those were a couple of the items that kind of stood out above the other. And the other thing that Orca was able to do is we provided them a footprint where the structure would be located, as well as where we would have flooring in place already with the construction contract. And they did a really good job at actually designing their structure around the flooring that we already had in place. So we didn't actually have to invest more money in additional flooring just due to the structure fitting differently. So there was some efficiencies there as far as cost savings as well.
Thanks for that, Andrew. And I wasn't, again, not doubting your work for a second, just a little bit more clarity for myself. I think it's going to look great in that space. I can't wait till the ribbon cutting, when Mayor Roy gets to climb all the way up inside and then cut the ribbon for the grand opening. So I'll be excited for that day. I'll stand and take
At the top of the climbing wall there, right?
Correct. No, inside in the top.
Inside, okay. The other thing, Andrew, is that this price includes materials and installation, or do we install?
No, this is the complete design, the materials, the install, everything in it. So once Wright is left the space and it becomes ours, they can get in here and do the install. They send a crew out that they work with, that they've been working with for 20 plus years. installing these units. So they come out of BC and they'll come and do the install, and we just watch it happen. So, and I will add for the ribbon cutting that because of safety concerns, they do make this structure big enough and wide enough for a full-size adult to get inside. So that wouldn't be an issue for us if that was something that council wants to consider.
Thank you. I'll make that motion at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Andrew, I did the same thing you did. I showed my son this diagram. He has been very vocal on the various play places in the Southeast region and considers himself an expert in the matter. And he gives it his strong endorsement. So to his worship's point about making sure the children have seen this, I think we've got that fairly well covered between the two of us.
Any further comments? Hearing none. Call the question. Councillor Van Betju,
Yes.
Councillor Richards,
Yes.
Councillor Morissette,
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan,
Yes.
Councillor Janke,
Yes.
Councillor Mickle,
Yes.
Mayor Roy, yes. And will that video, Andrew, will that, like you said, you had a live video, rendering video, will that go onto the Weyburn site?
It was something that I am going to have to check into with Orca and with Paige as well. It's about a 10-minute long video, so it is a little bit to watch to get through, but I mean, it shows every feature in the structure. So I will talk to Paige and we'll see what we can do.
Even if there's a kind of like a home down 2-minute video that they can be allowed to show some clips of it, that'd be good. So very good. Moving forward. What do we have up next here? Just got to find my place here again. Urban, this is back to you, Andrew, again. Urban forest tree inventory data collection.
Okay, so as approved through the city budgeting process, $35,000 was allocated towards contracting out a third-party vendor to conduct a thorough tree inventory of the 7,000 plus city-owned trees. And put together data that we could use on our CGIS system. What this will allow us to do is become more proactive with tree maintenance, planting, Dutch elm disease programs. It'll really help us become more efficient in what we do and be more precise with our planning and enhance our efficiencies. So a request for proposal was put out on February 1st and closed on March 15th. We received a total of 7 submissions. However, one of those 7 submissions did not meet the necessary criteria. They failed to provide some of the certifications that we were looking for, scheduling, that sort of thing. So of these proponents, we had submissions from Green Drop, Davy Resources, KBM Resources, Living Tree Environmental, Sure Shot, and Mumbies. So these proponents are situated all across Western Canada, which is why you may see some distances between the low and the high end of pricing. A lot of that's related to travel expenses and whatnot, different overheads. So based on a full assessment of the proposals received, including reference checks, confirmation of certificates and pricing, the Leisure Services Department would like to recommend that Green Drop Ltd. of Regina be awarded the tree inventory data collection in the amount of $21,400 plus applicable taxes.
Do I have a motion, please?
Your Worship, this is Councillor Morissette, and I would like to make the motion that the contract to conduct tree inventory for the City of Weyburn owned trees from the group Green Drop Limited of Regina in the amount of $21,400 be accepted as recommended.
Your Worship, this is Councillor Janke, and I will second that motion.
Discussion?
Just another question, if I may, Your Worship.
Sure.
To Director Crow. It's interesting to me, I will say this with great humility, I had no idea the depth and involvement that was around tree maintenance in our city. When I got on council 4 or 5 years ago or whatever it was, this is a tremendous, and I think the value here, I actually feel pretty good about this price. It's something that, 6 years ago, if somebody said anything to me about this, I would have probably had to sit back in my chair and raise an eyebrow. I feel pretty good about this. I don't necessarily have a question for you. But I do, I guess. The company, Green Drop Limited, that you're recommending certainly comes in at the right price. Did you get some references on them in terms of, I guess, go back to what we said earlier with the playground? They've been around for a while. They're good to work with after the fact, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so they are actually a part of a larger franchise. They have offices in Alberta. I think their head office is in Manitoba, but they also have their local office in Regina. These guys are actually doing a lot of work for the city of Regina. Our parks manager, Kurt Block, reached out and got very good reviews on the work that they've been doing there. So we're very confident and very happy with the price that they submitted. It was, as you can see, quite a bit lower than we had initially budgeted for. So it was very nice to see.
Okay, thank you very much.
Andrew, the trees again are a thing that I will resound the same statement that Mr. Richards said there, that I believe as you drive around, we can see the trees throughout our city. We have an enormous amount of trees, and I'm glad to see that you're taking control of looking at our inventory, something I think that we have not done, has been a miss for many years, because like good stewards of the city, we need to make sure that we understand where these trees are, do a planned data of all these trees and know the lifespans. And I see here that they've also they're going to be coming with a picture. I guess that's my comment, that it's going to be a picture of all the trees that we've got within the city.
Yeah, so for each individual tree, and they inventory each individual tree through a category of different factors. They rate them on a scale basically of healthy to not healthy. And they also take a picture with their GPS coordinates. Then all that data is put onto our GIS program so that we can actually go on, if a resident has a concern about a tree, we can actually pull up the program and look through the system and find the exact tree that they might be talking about, that we can go then address. So it's definitely going to be a great tool for us, and I'm really we know that there's 7,000 trees, but we don't know the details of those 7,000 trees, and we're fighting things like black knot or Dutch elm disease on a regular basis, and this will hopefully help us get ahead on those programs to determine where we may have issues next and get ahead of it.
Also, too, the life of the tree, so we can make a very kind of informed decision as to replacement of these trees, and kind of give a heads up where we're going to start having to replace and where issues are going to be. Very well done, Andrew. Any other comment?
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. This is great work. $21,000 to get this kind of data to support decision making to decide what to do with these trees and maintain them will pay for itself in no time.
I don't think the citizens of Weyburn realize that there are 7,000 trees, but that's a lot of trees there. In seeing no other comments or hearing no other comments, call the question. All in favor? Mr. Van Betju?
Yes.
Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Councillor Morissette?
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan?
Yes.
Councillor Janke?
Yes.
Councillor Mickle?
Yes.
Mayor Roy? Yes. Next item, which is related to that, is our Boulevard tree pruning system that you're setting up, Andrew. Go ahead.
Okay, so this was another program that we wanted to get in place this year along with our tree inventory system. These two kind of work hand in hand. But approved during the city budgeting process, $50,000 was allocated towards contracting out a third-party vendor to assist the Parks Department in conducting tree pruning, as we do every year, just kind of adding to our maintenance program to try to get caught up in some of the areas where we may have lagged behind a little bit. So as I mentioned in the last report, we are responsible for over 7,000 city-owned trees throughout the city, throughout our urban forest. And we've identified a number of priority areas, estimating at around 380 trees to be pruned through a pruning contract. And why we've asked to do that is because these are trees in areas that may be considered hard to reach, or we may or may not have the proper equipment to handle these trees. So things kind of turn into a bit of a safety concern when you don't have the right equipment. And unfortunately, if it's a safety concern every year, then those trees will never get dealt with. So we're just trying to catch up. So I won't go through them, but below in the chart is the list of trees in the areas that we look to address with this contract for the 2021 season. So the request for proposal was posted on the website and SAS tenders on February 1st and closed at 2 o'clock on March 12th. Again, we received a total of 7 submissions. However, one of those did not meet the necessary criteria due to not providing enough information within their proposal. So only 6 were considered for award. So as you can see in the chart, we saw pricing basically between $30,000 and $80,000, so quite a spread again. Again, a lot of that is due to travel-related expenses or overhead that certain companies have that others don't. So based on a full assessment of the proposals received, including the reference checks, confirmation of the required certificates and pricing, we'd like to recommend that Green Drop Ltd. of Regina also be awarded the 2021 tree pruning contract to prune approximately 382 trees in the amount of $32,140.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll make the motion right now.
Or me motion, sorry.
Thank you very much for your work on this, Andrew. I'm prepared to make a motion that the proposal of Green Drop Limited to the assist the Parks Department with the tree pruning maintenance program in the amount of $32,140 be accepted as recommended.
I'll second that, Your Worship. It's Councillor Richards.
Call the discussion.
Yeah.
And again, the branch managers, they're a little, I don't not always having to go, but the 2 closest bids, I guess, Family Tree Services, branch manager, Family Tree Services, and Sawyer's. Information about those, Andrew, you know, especially like the branch managers, did they not provide something for us?
So the reason for selecting Green Drop over the branch managers, our parks manager, Kurt Block, who has done a ton of work on this stuff, he's also an arborist. He knows his ins and outs. He was just much more satisfied with some of the information that Green Drop provided, and then also just the raving reviews that he's had from stemming from their work. Also, you know, referenced again to Regina, and they've been really excited about the work that they've been doing. So he just felt most comfortable with going with Green Drop, even though there was a small variance in price there.
Okay, and same thing with, I would take it with the Family Tree Service and Sawyer stuff. Correct?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Richard.
Thanks, Your Worship. Andrew, 2 things for you. Number 1, you probably never thought I'd be the guy this interested in trees. Neither did I suppose. First off is a commendation to you and your department. We've had 3 items in a row from you that have been exceptionally well budgeted. And as a councillor, I want to thank you for that, because you've been, you know, even on this one, all but 2 of those bids come below what you budgeted, but all of them well within reason of your budgeting, and I appreciate that. And even if we can save a little bit of money, that certainly helps. So good on you and your department for nailing your budgets. My question to you is, and it's completely not to do with this largely, but I do get questioned the odd time when it comes to tree pruning, that's the word, about what is our plan or what is our policy around the back alleys or the rear lanes and trimming those, if you would. And maybe now's not the time for that question. I'm okay with it. You'll get back to me.
Yeah, so that's something that we'll have to continue to look into. Right now, our priority areas are more so the boulevards and on the main thoroughfares. If we have city-owned trees that are in damaged conditions, or a property owner calls us with concern, we'll go check in on them. But that's another item that the tree inventory system is really going to help us with. so that we can actually plan ahead. And if we do have some city-owned trees in an area that might be overlooked, we can put emphasis on addressing those.
Thank you very much.
Again, Andrew, this is for city-owned trees only, the pruning. Anything that's hanging there now into the alleys from people's yards, that's their baby, not ours, right?
Correct, yes. This is only for the city of Weyburn Urban Forest with city-owned trees.
Correct. And that was just for a point of clarification. Any other comments, councillors? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor? Mr. Van Betju?
Yes.
Councillor Richards?
Yes.
Councillor Morissette?
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan?
Yes.
Councillor Janke?
Yes.
Councillor Mickle? Councillor Mickle?
Yes.
Mayor Roy? Yes. Last one more, Andrew. Here we go again. Or is this Jennifer? Weyburn Leisure Center air handling and rooftop unit replacement, meaning the swimming pool. Go ahead.
Correct, yes. This is my last one of the night. You won't have to listen to me after this.
Okay.
So as approved with the city budgeting process of $500,000 allocated towards the engineering design and the contractor management and the replacement of our rooftop units at the leisure center. We went ahead with this job. This is actually a project that was supposed to take place back in 2020. However, we simply ran out of time due to shipping constraints and design constraints and stuff. So the replacements for these is actually required due to the fact that our equipment's just getting old. We're experiencing some mechanical issues, and a lot of the parts included in these systems are actually considered obsolete, so it's gotten to the point where it's very hard for us to source anything should we have a breakdown. The equipment's also beyond its effective life cycle, and we're actually not running things as efficiently as we could be if they were all in working order. So the project has been scheduled to take place during the outdoor swimming season to limit any interruption of the regular swimming pool ops. So the completion date for this project has been set for August 15th. That way, even if, well, we'll get into it later, but we're giving ourselves enough time that we can wrap up the project, and if there's any delays that we experience or anything, we can take care of them before we shift into the winter season. One big thing that I will say about this project, why it's so necessary, is because we are dealing with the swimming pool with a humid environment and with using chlorine and different chemicals, we have to make sure that we have a really good solid airflow, controlled airflow, so that we can keep the facility safe for our staff and for all the patrons that enter the building. So an engineering design and specs were developed by HDA engineering consultants, mainly in 2020. It carried over a little bit into 2021. The request for proposal for the equipment supply and contractor services was then posted on our website in South Tenders on March 1st and closed on March 18th at 2 p.m. We received a total of 5 submissions, and they all met the necessary bid criteria. So each and every one of them was looked at and assessed. And then based on a full assessment completed by HDA Engineering and ourselves as well, we're recommending to move forward with the award of the project going to Prairie Lightning Electric for the replacement of our overhead or our rooftop units in the amount of $291,979.47 plus taxes. I will note, as mentioned, we did have a budget of $500,000 for this project, so things are looking pretty good on the costs. We do have some engineering fees that we have to pay on top of that, but we'll still come in well under budget.
Do you have a motion?
Yes, Your Worship, Councillor Van Betju. I'd like to make a motion that the bid of Prairie Lighting Electric to supply and install a rooftop unit and an air handling unit within 125 days at the Weyburn Leisure Center in the amount of $291,979.47 be accepted.
Your worship, this is Councillor Morissette, and I will second that.
Discussion? Mr. Van Betju?
Yes, thank you, Worship. Andrew, I just have one question. So we've hired an engineering firm to do the design. And are they then responsible for the functionality of this unit to make sure that it does do the job that they've spec'd the right product and it does do the job that we're expecting it to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's part of contracting them is HDA is responsible for putting the design together and then also managing the contractor. So because this is such a specific technical item, we actually contract them out to work on our behalf to hold the contractor's feet to the fire, basically, to ensure that we are getting what we need at the end of the day and that no corners are taken.
Good. Sounds good. Thank you.
Mr. Janke?
Your worship. Andrew, what's the expected life on this building?
Well, I think we are getting, to be honest, we're kind of rounding the corner on this building. I think we're still in it for another 15 to 20 years where we could handle things quite well. But with that, we have to conduct ongoing maintenance to make sure that the building remains safe and is operating correctly. So we just have to be conscious of what the next steps are going to be for the building and when we may look at replacing the building in the future. But as far as investing in the new overhead units, it's very well within reason and would be a good investment.
Okay. It always seems awfully humid in that building. I realize it's a swimming pool and it's expected to be, but is it fair to say that this would extend its life?
Yeah, so it'll help us extend the life because we can get some of that humidity out. I mean, as you mentioned, it's an indoor pool, so we are always going to be dealing with humidity. But it also gets the chemicals and that kind of corrosive type material out of the building. So we will see some benefits that way. And it actually also allows us to control our water quality as well, because the chlorine in the water and the air quality above it work kind of hand in hand. So with this new unit, we'll be able to move a lot more air in a more efficient manner.
Excellent. Thanks, Andrew.
Any other questions? Hearing none, call the question. Mr. Van Betju?
Yes.
Councillor Richards?
Yes.
Councillor Morissette?
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan?
Yes.
Councillor Janke?
Yes.
Councillor Mickle?
Yes.
Mayor Roy? Yes. Passed unanimously. Introduction of bylaws. We extend the assessment role. Laura, is this yours?
Yep. Hello. So we have not received our numbers for the assessment roll from SAMA as of yet. Usually we receive them sometime, well, the end of March, beginning of April. So by legislation, we are required to issue tax notices by April 1st. And so we are just asking for an extension to May 31st. We get this extension every year.
Do you have a motion, please?
Yes, Your Worship. I'll move the bylaw 2021-3423, a bylaw to extend the assessment roll from April 1st to May 31st, 2021, be read for the first time.
Your worship, Councillor Corrigan here. I will second that motion.
And then, any discussion? Laura, just though I guess one discussion is this. Because we always ask for extensions, should we be looking at this bylaw to be changed so that you've got, or does this have to fit with government legislation?
I believe it's with government legislation, so we can't change it.
Okay, because it's just that you said that, I know I've been here, this is 5th year, and we've always extended it all the time. It just feels really foolish to do it just like, feel like you should just extend it and then just change it, so then we don't have to do this. But anyway, that, call the question, Councillor Van Betju,
Yes.
Councillor Richards,
Yes.
Councillor Morissette,
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan,
Yes.
Councillor Jenke,
Yes.
Councillor Mickle,
Yes.
Mayor Roy, yes. There's no unfinished business. Now we have new business.
Sorry, Your Worship, excuse me, it's done. We were hoping to do all three readings on that bylaw tonight.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I thought that was just a one-time shot onto that. So pardon me. Do you have a second reading, please?
Sure. This is Councillor Janke. I move that bylaw 2021-3423, a bylaw to extend the assessment roll from April 1st to May 31st, 2021, be read a second time.
Seconder.
This is Councillor Corrigan. I will second that motion.
Councillor Van Betju, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Richards,
Yes.
Councillor Morissette,
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan,
Yes.
Councillor Janke,
Yes.
Councillor Mickle,
Yes.
Mayor Roy, yes. Do I have a motion to move for a third reading?
Yes, Your Worship. I move that bylaw 2021-3423, a bylaw to extend the assessment roll from April 1st and May 31st, be given 3 readings at this meeting.
Your worship, Councillor Corrigan, I will second that motion.
Call the question. Councillor Van Betju,
Yes.
Councillor Richards,
Yes.
Councillor Morissette,
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan,
Yes.
Councillor Janke,
Yes.
Councillor Mickle,
Yes.
Mayor Roy, yes.
Well then, Your Worship, I move that bylaw 2021-3423, a bylaw to extend the assessment roll from April 1st to May 31st, 2021, be read a third time and passed.
Your
Second.
worship, Councillor Corrigan here. I will second that motion.
Call the question. Councillor Van Betju,
Yes.
Councillor Richards,
Yes.
Councillor Morissette,
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan,
Yes.
Councillor Janke,
Yes.
Councillor Mickle,
Yes.
Mayor Roy, yes. Passed unanimously. Janine, you are up on this one, new business, discretionary use development permit for a cannabis retail store. If you would, please.
Thank you, Mayor Roy. This will be the first of 2 cannabis retail store applications we've received. So this is development permit 2021-003 for a discretionary use of a cannabis retail store at 95 Government Road.
Go ahead.
The location is located within the major arterial commercial zone, which allows for cannabis retail stores as a discretionary use, and therefore have to go to council, and they require a neighborhood notice. So the notice was sent out to the 75-meter radius on March 5th, and no responses were received. This is the site plan that was submitted by the applicants, and it meets the parking requirements. They are moving into an existing unit near Suez Avenue, which was previously used as a restaurant. Other uses in the area involve commercial, retail, restaurants. The mall is across the street. And then there is a building floor plan that they submitted, which gives you an idea of what the inside will look like once they do their renovations. And they will require a building permit and SLGA approval. So the site is located within the major arterial commercial zone. The unit was previously used for a restaurant, is now vacant. There are other units on the property which have various commercial uses. Cannabis retail stores are discretionary uses in the MAC zone and must meet the following requirements or conditions as set out in the zoning bylaw.
They shall comply with all federal and provincial acts and regulations, as well as municipal bylaw and regulations. Drive-through service for cannabis retail stores is prohibited. They shall comply with all security requirements as set out by the SLGA. All products related to the operation of a cannabis retail store shall be stored on site and shall be secured and protected from theft. And no person shall develop a cannabis retail store within a 200-meter radius of the following: another approved cannabis retail store, an elementary school or high school, any nursery school or commercial daycare center, and any social service home or halfway house. It complies with all of the above mentioned regulations. There are 5 off-street parking spaces which are required, and it complies with that requirement. So council has a couple options. Option number 1 would be to approve the development permit without further conditions. Option number 2 would be to approve development permit 2021-003 for a cannabis retail store at 95 Government Road, subject to the following conditions. A minimum of 5 off-street parking spaces shall be provided on site for the cannabis retail store. Building permits shall be required to ensure barrier-free standards are met, as well as emergency lighting, exit signs, and portable fire extinguishers at each exit. No occupancy or operations shall proceed until final inspection has been completed by the building official. No operations shall proceed until City of Weyburn business license is obtained and accompanied by written approval from SLGA that the provincial permit is in the process of being finalized for the store. No drive-through service is permitted. The owner shall comply with all federal and provincial acts and regulations regarding the sale of cannabis and cannabis accessories. The owner shall comply with all security requirements as set out by SLGA. And option number 3 would be to refuse the development permit based on reasons that would be presented tonight by the officer making the motion. So the staff recommendation would be that development permit 2021-003 for a cannabis retail store at 95 Government Road be approved subject to conditions as outlined in option number 2.
Have a motion, please.
We can't hear you, Mel.
Excuse me, sorry about that. It's Councillor Van Betje. I'd like to make a motion that development permit 2021.003 for a cannabis retail store at 95 Government Road be approved, subject to the conditions as recommended.
Do you have a second?
Your worship, this is Councillor Morissette, and I will second that motion.
Call the discussion. Is Morissette?
Thanks, your worship. Janine, I posed this question to you before because it was brought up to me from a member of the public back in, I think it was early 2020. Was there not a maximum number of permits that was issued to each city across Saskatchewan when retailers were applying?
When the legislation was first introduced in 2018, there was a limit on the number that were allocated to specific municipalities, and Weyburn had 2 allocated to us. In September 2020, the provincial government lifted the limit on the number that could go into a municipality. So as of right now, in our zoning bylaw, there is no limit, and so we can have as many as are proposed and council approves. So.
Thank you.
Councilor Morissette, there was a when they lifted that, there was a meeting. We had council discuss that, and they just decided that as many as wanted to felt that they could make a living at would allow. Same thing as pizza restaurants or whatever. The only one that is a limit is our, to my knowledge, and Janine can correct me on that one, but that's SLGA limits 20, I think, one liquor alcohol outlet per 2,500. That's the ones that they do. But as far as the cannabis stores, there's no limit onto that. Go ahead, Any other comments?
Yeah, Your Worship, it's Councillor Richards. Thank you. Janine, I know that this is in your report. I just want to make sure that it's clear. Although council may tonight approve the discretionary use of both of these development permits, still no guarantee the store will happen because the entrepreneurs in question will still need to get certification from SLGA to run the store. Is that correct?
Yes, they'll still need approval from SLGA, and the SLGA will have their own requirements, so they'll have to meet those as well.
So we won't issue a business license or anything until that approval has been received.
Yes, at least that they're finalizing that approval with SLGA, correct, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, call the question. How do you vote, Councillor Bambetu?
Yes.
Councillor Richards?
Yes.
Councillor Morissette?
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan?
Yes.
Councillor Janke?
Yes.
Councillor Mickle?
Yes.
Mayor Roy? Yes. Passed unanimously. Discretionary use development permit, cannabis retail, 132 First Street.
Okay, same deal here, and I'll try not to repeat myself too much. So this is development permit application 2021.001, cannabis retail store discretionary use at 132 First Street Northeast. This is the location of the proposed cannabis retail store. It is just south of Cotto Avenue on First Street. It is located within the Central Business District zone, in which a cannabis retail store is a discretionary use. Requires council approval and neighborhood notices. No responses were received to those neighborhood notices either. This is the site plan that they have submitted. And this is the building floor plan they have submitted. They did note that it's still preliminary. They'll need SLGA correspondence to make sure that they meet all their requirements. It is located within the Central Business District zone. The main floor unit was previously used for a plumbing and heating shop and is now vacant. The second floor has 2 residential apartment units. The surrounding uses are a city-owned parking lot to the south and various commercial uses to the north, east, and west. Cannabis retail stores are discretionary in the Central Business District zone and must meet the following requirements as set out in the zoning bylaw, which I won't repeat myself on all of those. And it does meet all of those regulations, and no off-street parking spaces are required in the Central Business District for this use, so it meets that requirement. Again, City Council has 3 options. Approve it without further conditions. Approve with the following conditions. No direct connection between the retail store and any residential area shall be permitted as per SLGA regulations. Building permit shall be required to ensure barrier-free standards are met, as well as emergency lighting, exit signs, and portable fire extinguishers at each exit. No occupancy or operations shall proceed until final inspection has been completed by the building official. No operations shall proceed until City of Weyburn business license is obtained and accompanied by written approval from SLGA that a provincial permit is in the process of being finalized for the store. No drive-through service is permitted. The owner shall comply with all federal and provincial acts and regulations regarding the sale of cannabis and cannabis accessories. The owner shall comply with all security requirements as set out by SLGA. Or option number 3 would be to refuse the development permit for a cannabis retail store at 132 First Street Northeast for the following reasons. And those would have to be presented tonight. So, staff recommend that development permit 2021.001 for a cannabis retail store at 132 First Street Northeast
be approved subject to conditions as outlined in option number 2.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, Your Worship, it's Councillor Richards. Happy to make a motion that the development permit 2021-001 for cannabis retail store at 132 First Street be approved, subject to the conditions as recommended.
This is Councillor Mickle, and I'll second that motion.
Discussion?
Your Worship, just a comment. I'm excited to see folks interested in investing in business in our community. That is my comment. So thanks to everybody involved in these.
Yes, I believe that you expressed what all the rest of the council would like to express. So very good on you. Any other comments? Seeing none. How do we vote? Call the question. Councillor Van Betju,
Yes.
Councillor Richards,
Yes.
Councillor Morissette,
Yes.
Councillor Corrigan, Councillor Corrigan,
Sorry, yes.
Councillor Janke,
Yes.
Councillor Mickle,
Yes.
Mayor Roy, yes. Passed unanimously. Inquiries and announcements.
I have something, Your
Hi.
Worship.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Mickle.
Thank you. Okay, I want to make a special thanks to the Weyburn Run Club, Your Worship, for their efforts this past week in cleaning up our city. They started in Jubilee Park and did a tremendous job, and the River Park one was called off because due to the wind, but I'm sure they will attempt that very soon. Weyburn City Council appreciates that, your dedication to helping our community remain beautiful. We encourage everyone to help tidy up the neighborhood as well. Small acts can have a big impact on our local environment. Stay tuned, everyone, into the city website and social media to learn about an upcoming community cleanup initiative of our environment committee and city staff are planning. This has been happening over the last 2 months, Your Worship, and we have some big news coming up very shortly. Thanks again.
Any other comments, inquiries?
Your Worship, it's City Clerk Richter. Something I should have mentioned just in regards to the going back into chambers. I just wanted the public to know that we will continue to follow all public health orders in regard to social distancing, masking, and will limit the number of people in council chambers. Public attendance will be limited at the in-person meetings unless arrangements are made well in advance with myself, as set out in City of Weyburn Council Procedures bylaw. The public can continue to watch the meetings live on Access Television or view on the city's YouTube channel the next day. Both council and administration have been vigilant in regard to the COVID-19 protocols, but being back in chambers will allow for better discussion and a better service for our community.
Thank you. I guess, Jennifer Wilkinson, I just wanted to bring a note up that was commented to me today. I know that you're getting a variety of funding from SGI on these pedestrian crosswalks. It was pointed out to me that they asked to be brought up that on that 13 highway by Tattaqua, entrance to Tattaqua there, where our walking paths cross 13 highway, there's no, I never noticed it until it was pointed out to me today. There's no pedestrian cross signs there. And I don't know whether this would fall into SGI's purview of streets there with flashing lights to notice that there's pedestrian crosswalks at that point. Because again, because of all the higher than, last year there was extremely high usage of our pedestrian walkways, which are very, very good. And they expect the same here. People have kind of questioned and asked me about that, whether there's any ideas or plans for crosswalk flashing lights there at that point.
So yeah, that area is on our radar. We currently are in the process of putting a new application into the Traffic Safety Fund. We have not we received funding for the crossing lights at Don Mitchell, but we have not received any additional funding. We just received funding for that location. And we are in the process of putting a new application in for the next round, but that does not close till the end of March. So we are aware of that area, and obviously we're always evaluating them in a priority of all the different locations within the city. And it is identified on our list right now, but it is not at the top. I can say that.
Okay, just as long as it's on your list, it's been identified, and they know that it's not one that is forgotten. So thank you, appreciate
Yeah,
that.
definitely are aware of it. Yeah.
Any other inquiries of staff or administration? Hearing none, there's no notice of motions.